Hello everyone, I'm Ferdi Salvador. Join us in unlocking the tricks of the trade here on Trade Talks. Let's get down to business. Passing on generationally run businesses are challenging transitions in successful family-owned businesses. The first generation establishes the business, the second sustains it, and the third, well, sometimes makes it or the business goes belly up. My guest today proves that with the right heart and mind, the third or even the fourth generation can in fact sustain and grow the business. This morning, Davao is center stage once again with the development foresight of one of the biggest real estate development firms in Mindanao. We have Anflo of Companies Director and Damosa Land President, Ricardo "Cary" Lagdameo. Good morning, Cary. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Ferdi. Thank you for having me.
I know you plane in rather from Davao and Manila weekly. So, you being here, thank you so much for fitting us in your busy schedule.
No, the pleasure is mine.
Thank you. So, tell me, Cary, you come from a generationally produced business, right? That's a mouthful. But how did it start? Did you work under your grandfather, Don Antonio Florendo, or was it an uncle? How did this come about?
Yeah, so to be honest, I started with the family business a bit later on in my career. I think I was about 35. So I had several jobs prior to joining the family business. But when I decided to finally take the plunge, so to speak, I worked under one of my uncles. He was heading our real estate business at the time. So that was about 11 years ago. By that time, my grandfather had passed on already. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to really work directly underneath him or under him. But there was still a lot of learnings, just knowing his history, the way he worked, talking to people. There was a lot of learnings with that. And then, of course, working under my uncle and I guess learning the ropes.
Yes.
Learning the business and learning how the group operated until finally, eventually, I was able to, I guess, do things on my own with the team.
Yes. But Cary, working for a different company is completely different from working with your family. Was it a choice to work for others first to gain experience, or you just said, okay, let me do this now and then I will eventually join the company or the family biz?
Yeah, so I think for most of us, especially in our generation, it was really preferred that we would work outside for several years, get skills that way, be exposed to other businesses also. So when I joined the business, the family business, it was a personal choice. I knew at one point that I was going to join the family business. I just did not know when. But when I joined the business, I said that this would be my last job. I mean, I would really end up with the family business, and that's already for the long haul. But working outside, there was a lot of skills that I was able to gain, and a lot of things I was able to learn. Also able to build my network prior to moving to Mindanao and to join the family business.
Well, it's been 12 years, so to speak, no?
Yes.
But Damosa Land has been around for over 50 years, right?
Technically, yes. As a real estate company, we've been around for 20 years.
Yes.
So we just celebrated our 20th year last year. But the company that we have, Damosa, it used to be called Davao Motor Sales.
How interesting.
So that's a little bit of trivia. So the first business that our founder, my grandfather, started was a car dealership selling Ford vehicles in Mindanao. So that
what
company,
a shift.
It's a huge shift. But what's interesting is that that's how we got our start as a real estate company, because when we stopped dealing motor vehicles around the 90s or mid to late 90s, we were able to convert a lot of those land assets that company had acquired into other types of real estate projects. So now doing commercial, office, residential projects, but using that initial land bank from the first company.
That's amazing foresight coming from from your patriarch, because can you imagine if you just stuck with a car business? It
Yes.
would have been a completely different story. I mean, your family is well known, of course, in Mindanao for producing agricultural products, leisure even, and of course now real estate.
Yes.
Was it hard for you to innovate?
I think it's always a challenge to innovate, right?
Yes.
Because you can have the ideas, but it's also training the other people around you, maybe.
Yeah.
Or getting buy-in from the people around you.
Or what about the elders? Because of course, they're always watching you. You know, you're the nephew
Yeah.
or the son, and what are you doing?
Well, that's always a challenge, but I think the generation above will
Yes.
also always try to challenge the generation below to think differently, think about what's new, provide new ideas or good ideas to the family business. So I think it's also expected on it goes both ways.
Yes.
But obviously trying to execute it is another story,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So like in our case, some of the new things that we did, like say trying to build houses or buildings differently, more efficiently. So
Like how?
that was a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you're using a new methodology, for instance, the costs are different, the method is different. So it's a lot of education. You have to really educate the people around you and, of course, the people older than you that this is something newer, something better. So we definitely had to do our homework. And eventually they saw that it would be something better and more beneficial for the business.
Yes, I mean, but this is a lot of pressure. I mean, I'm sure you used to, 12 years running the business, but, you guys, the company has billions of pesos worth of assets and, of course, developmental funds. Doesn't that scare you sometimes?
I try not to think about it, but yes, definitely.
Now I made you think about it. Now you're scared. I'm so sorry, but but I know your innovations have already become super, super diversified. I mean, you've got an agri-real estate business,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You've got commercial, you've got residential, mixed use,
Yes.
and you've got what you call hospitality as well,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How do you manage all of these different ideas and make sure that the branding of your company is still intact?
I think first and foremost, Ferdi, is that we have a good team in place. We wouldn't be able to do multiple projects at the same time if we didn't have the right people in place. So I think that something that I'm able to provide is the direction, the strategy, maybe some of the ideas, but the team to execute it. I mean, those guys are the ones that are going to be on the ground really carrying out the project. So I think it's really important that we have that team on the ground and really also having the same passion, the passion that we do for real estate and for Mindanao. I think one thing that was very important was that we had to have this common denominator, which was across all of our different projects, what was the one main driving force behind it? No?
Okay.
And that is that we're a Mindanao development company.
Yes.
So whether we were doing residential projects or office buildings, I mean, we were trying to do something, or we tried to do something
Yes.
that's for the betterment of
But
Mindanao.
I know that you mentioned earlier you've got land bank because of your grandfather when he was still there, no? But why Mindanao? Why keep Mindanao? Do you have plans of expanding outside of Mindanao?
I think eventually, but we're still scratching the surface. There's still so much opportunities. You have the key cities like Davao City, for instance, where most of our projects are. And it's still one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It has one of the biggest markets as well. But that's only one city. There are still many other key cities across Mindanao that are still on the cusp of development, so to speak. So I think eventually we'll develop outside of Mindanao, but I think for the next few years, we have our hands full developing Mindanao.
What do you think weighs in heavier now? I mean, obviously the Philippines is booming in tourism. There's a great market for upscale developments, residential developments. There's a big demand. Where do you think your company is going towards? Are you going to develop more of the hospitality, more of the industrial mixed use, or more of the residential in Mindanao?
I'd hate to choose just one because we're involved in so many of these different businesses. But I think it really depends on, I guess, where we're at in the cycle of real estate, right? Maybe the last few years, of course, residential has been very steady. The office sector was something that was really booming over the last few years. And obviously, there's a bit of some challenges with that. But I think that's just temporary. So in the meantime, one of the very exciting sectors that we're looking at, and I think even the rest of the country is tourism and hospitality. Yes. So one of our newer projects that we'll be launching soon, it will be a hospitality-based business. But
am I allowed to ask what it is?
No.
I'm preempting it.
No,
I'm going to break it here.
We've been able to announce it this year.
Okay.
So we're doing a condotel. We're using the brand called Trip, TRYP. We partnered with the FINMA Group for this. This will be our third hotel that we're doing with them. So it's a condotel that will be developed on Samal Island in Davao del Norte. So for those that are not too familiar, Samal Island is probably the main tourism or beach destination
just
in
like
the
Pearl
Davao
Farm,
region.
you know.
That is where Pearl Farm is located.
Yeah, Pearl Farm is there, and other amazing resorts out there. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, we're excited about tourism. When you look at also just the external factors, no? I mean, the airports are being improved.
Yes.
Airlines are getting new airplanes.
Yes.
There are more
international
routes.
flights.
International flights are coming into Davao.
Exactly.
So when you put all of that together, I mean, tourism is going to be a really huge driving force for real estate for years to come.
Yes, but of course, there's talk in Manila about a bumper crop, let's just say, of medium to low-end, high-rise units. Yeah. Are you feeling that in Davao as well?
Not as much. It's a bit of a different story in Davao. I think just recently we were talking with a few industry experts, and they were mentioning that I think the supply is closer to about a year and a half to 2 years of inventory.
Okay.
So unlike what is being reported in other parts of the country. So I think in that case, or in that sense, at least we're not feeling it as much. I think one of the major factors there was that we also never had pogos in Davao. So there was never this exodus of, or all of these condominiums becoming vacant all at once.
Right. But we're going to talk about more of development and your dream projects. We're going to take a short breather. Trade Talks will be right back. And we're back. You're still watching Trade Talks here on BNC. Still with us, the president of Damosa Land, Cary Lagdameo. So, Cary, we're talking about developments and stuff like that. Since you took over 12 years ago, how many projects have you launched?
If I can just put it this way, from when I started the business, because when I started with Damosa Land, I wasn't automatically placed as the head of the company. You know? So maybe I can kind of highlight or outline the journey of my team and
Sure.
From 2014. When I started, we had roughly about 10 projects, and these were across different kinds of real estate, all at different, some were completed, some were being built, some were about to be launched. Today, we have about 25.
Okay, wow.
So in about 10 years.
So you doubled it?
A little bit more than double. Yes.
And what about the percentage of, I'm not going to ask you the exact numbers of your profits, but percentage-wise, how much have you grown the business from when you started? And with your team, of course.
Sure. Maybe in terms of revenue, from 2014 till 2024, so in 10 years, we grew by about 3.5 times. 3.5 times, so about 350%. And that was really...
That's huge.
We've had a good run. I think it was on the back of doing so many different kinds of projects in different sectors.
What's
really.
the secret? Yeah, I was about to ask you, what's the secret? Is it because you diversify your plans? Are you more cutting edge? You're bringing in like the global feel into your market? Is that what it is?
I think diversification was definitely one.
Yes.
Right? And especially even during the pandemic, that's what really helped us get through the pandemic, because we didn't focus just on one kind of real estate, but we had a lot of recurring income because we had our offices, we had our commercial buildings, we had warehouses and things like that kind of got us through. And then when we were able to launch more residential projects, like for instance, last year we launched two major residential projects, and those are really also what gives us that high growth number.
I'm going to ask you to choose among your children now, okay? What is your favorite project and why?
You know, somebody's going to be very upset in my team when you...
It's okay, folks. It's not me answering.
I would say the projects that okay, let me categorize it instead.
Don't be safe. Just say it.
I love the projects that are that promote countryside development.
Okay.
And two, the ones that are investment facing.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of countryside development, we have, for instance, our township. It's in Davao del Norte. It's called Agria. And that's a project that is also innovative, but it harps on sustainability. It harps on agriculture.
That's interesting.
And it's not in the main CBD. It's outside.
Yes.
So it's a nice project in the sense that we're getting to see the city develop along with our project.
With that being said, you're actually pulling from the center and helping out the countryside.
Absolutely.
And that's something to be proud of, because inadvertently people don't realize, hey, you're decongesting the city.
Yes, yes. So that's
in your way.
So that's one of the main points that we have with that project. But I mentioned also about investment-facing projects. So these are our industrial parks,
Yes.
our offices, because this creates investment. This creates jobs, right? So for instance, our offices were able to bring in a lot of BPOs, a lot of foreign direct investment, and that has generated, you know, thousands of jobs for the region, not just Davao City, but the whole region. Our industrial parks as well, we're able to have foreign companies locate their factories there, and that generates thousands of jobs as well. So it then creates this nice big multiplier effect, right? Creating wealth for the region, creating wealth outside of the CBD, and at the same time, you're providing, or you're putting up a beautiful project. So you're also
Right.
beautifying the area as well.
If you were to be given a chance to work with, like, you know, one of the biggest, like, designers or global, you know, project developers in the world, who would you choose as a collaborator?
Wow, that's a great question. But obviously the one that's, you know, very popular, I think a lot of people answer her name with Zaha Hadid.
Well,
of course,
unfortunately,
one of the most
yeah.
one of the most famous architects of our time. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the design of her buildings and her structures, I mean, it's amazing.
Iconic.
It's
Yeah.
iconic.
Aside from Zaha, who would you get? Somebody living.
Somebody living.
And what would it be?
I would probably look local also. I mean, we have so many good Filipino architects. Sorry, you said living?
Yes.
I would also love to work with some of the national artists as well. You know, the Loxins of our time.
Yes.
You know, our family, we worked also with architect Manyosa, but I never
Yes.
got to work with him.
You should talk to his son, Jello. He's been on the show.
My aunt has worked or currently works with him.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, now that we're talking about, you know, things such as tourism, I would love to design, for instance, a hotel, you know, with a local Filipino architect, because those are the, you know, of course, the Filipinos know what Filipinos like, right? And
Absolutely.
to really celebrate the beauty and the architecture of the country as well.
I asked you that so that some of your team members will not feel bad, at least.
Thanks for that.
I put you in the safe zone. What about your children? You've got two wonderful children. Do you see them working in the company in the near future? I mean, that's going to be the fourth generation.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, I would want them to get experience outside as well, similar to what I did. As much as I would want them to work with me in the real estate company, it's something I can't force them to. So I hope that they'll take a liking to it. I hope that by spending time abroad for school and then for work, that maybe they're able to open their minds to new real estate ideas that's outside of the country, and hopefully bring that back. But if they don't work with me directly, I hope that they would work with the family business in one of the other companies.
The
as
other
well.
affiliates. All right, but a few more questions for you. Last few questions. What's your biggest financial regret?
That I didn't invest in real estate earlier.
You still have a chance. You're still young.
Well, I'm doing it now, but imagine if you were young and you just started putting a little bit of money aside or putting a little money aside, like say 20 years ago
Yes.
in real estate. Can you imagine what that costs or
That's
that
my
amount?
regret too, buddy. I have to look for the money for it. What's your best investment decision?
My best investment decision. I would say maybe it's not a financial one, but it's probably investing my time in my career in Davao and in Mindanao, and which is what I've done for the last 10 years.
Who would want to work there? It's amazing to live in Davao.
Yes.
And advice to your younger self.
Get exposed early, make mistakes early, because that's how we learn, right? It's really when you make mistakes and how you pick yourself up after that. And the earlier you do it, the more resilient you'll become. I like to tell people. And probably invest in health.
I'm sure your team members will appreciate this question, but what's your biggest mistake?
My biggest mistake. Oh wow, that's a tough one. Biggest mistake. Maybe that I didn't come to Mindanao earlier.
They're going to like that. Your team members are going to like that. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, Cary. You know, I've learned so much from you, and I can't wait to go check out your projects in Davao or in Mindanao.
You're welcome anytime,
Thank you
Ferdi.
so much.
Thank you.
And that is it for today's show. I'm Ferdi Salvador. Catch the Bilyonaryo News channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on cable via Signal Channel 24. Thank you for watching the Bilyonaryo News channel. Always on top.